want to talk about something that can completely change the game for you, but hardly anybody's talking about it. Everyone is obsessed with H1B lottery, right? Like obviously that's what we've been told. You come on F1 visa, then you go to OPT, then you go from OPT 3 times, or if you're in STEM major, you apply for H1B and then potentially you go at H1B. If you don't get H1B, then you look for alternate options. But hardly anybody talks about H1B cap exempt. Everyone thinks there's only one type of H1B, which is the lottery based H1B, but you could actually skip the lottery altogether, and it is completely possible. And that's why in this video I want to talk about H1B cap exempt. What is it? How does it work? How can you use it to skip the lottery altogether, still build the career that you want to build in United States? And there's also perks and some disadvantages that I'm going to reveal it. So hopefully you at least operate from this awareness that there is this option that exists and you could use it for your possibility. If you're new to this channel, my name is Yudi, and on this channel we talk about everything related to studying in United States, building a successful career here, and immigration as well. So if that is something interesting to you, please consider subscribing. It doesn't cost you anything, but it means a lot to me. And also, quick disclaimer, I'm not an immigration lawyer, so please do not take this as a legal advice. I'm just providing you information based on my conversation with immigration lawyer. In fact, we had this detailed discussion. I'll put the link in the description. You can watch that as well. And one of the podcasts that I recently did with Shruti, she actually got H1B cap exempt and she went through her experience as well. If this video is coming out after her or regardless, I'll put the link in the description so you can watch it whenever the video podcast comes out. So this is from my experience. If you need legal counsel, if you need legal advice, please consider immigration lawyer and don't take anything that I say as a legal advice. Alright, let's start with basics. So everyone is aware about H1B cap visa, which is the annual cap. Every year there is a lottery that happens and roughly 65,000 spots are given plus 20,000 for those of you who have US master's degree or higher degree, right? So total of 85,000 H1B visas are given to you. Now, if you don't know the stats, 24-25, the results just went out. I'm making this video right after this, and roughly 350,000 applications were made. Don't quote me on number, but this is rough numbers. So again, we know the data. 85,000 only will be given this year. So rest of them, what do? They go on another round, which will be next year, another lottery, which will be next year, unless there's a second round, and that cycle just keeps happening. So that is a typical H1B lottery where you have to go through the lottery, and if you are lucky enough and if your name gets picked, then you move forward with the approval process. But here's what you may not know about. There are capped exempt H1B visa. These are not part of any annual limit. If you find the right employer, which is cap exempt employer, you can apply any time in the year, December, January, February, March, whenever you want. No lottery system, no annual cap. It's almost like a hidden door that people sometimes don't even see it, or if they know that they see it, they think that they can't open it. Make sense? Now that you understand that there is something called H1B cap exempt visa, not every single company is H1B cap exempt, right? Otherwise everyone would just do this. There's a limited companies that fall under cap exempt, and there are 4 main categories. Number 1 is institution of higher education. So even community colleges, universities, colleges, like all of these fall under higher education category. So for example, Arizona State University, Chico State University, Purdue University, University of Illinois, even Butte College, which is one of our community college in Chico. All of these can fall under institution of higher education. Now I know you're probably gonna be thinking like, bro, I did masters in computer science, or I did masters in business analytics. I don't want to be a professor. I don't want to teach. And I totally get it. In fact, anything that supports the mission of the university or mission of the institution of higher education, that is considered as a cap exempt as well. So for example, universities do hire data analysts, IT support. networking people, AI people, product people, finance people, marketing people, all of these people are getting hired by university as a staff, and all of them are supporting the mission of the university. So that's why it becomes a cap exempt role. Does that make sense? One of my friends, Sagar, was actually stuck in the lottery, but then found a job as a software engineer at university's IT department, and that's a cap exempt, no lottery, and he's actually doing the software engineering job. Same with Shruti, she's doing something into analytics as well. So it's completely possible you can do something that you actually want to do, because all the universities have different departments. You don't have to teach. If you want to teach, that's also possible. Second one is non-profit research organization. Now there are private non-profit entities dedicated to research, like Harvard Hughes Medical Institute, or non-profit psychology or climate research center. Let's say you're a project manager or an IT specialist. If you're supporting their research, you are covered. Third one is slightly harder, government research organization. These are the labs and agencies funded by federal government and state government doing the research or doing the actual like tech work, etc. It is probably going to be much harder because you won't be able to clear the security, but again, it is possible. Some role may not require security clearance and you may be eligible for it. You should look for it. And the fourth one, which is very interesting, non-profit organizations that are affiliated with higher education. So these could be the non-profit, but they have a formal agreement with a university or a college. Maybe your non-profit helps university to do some research, or maybe your non-profit provides lecturers or mentors to the university. Again, it's a very interesting category, and there are a lot of categories fall under this as well. So maybe look for this as well. Just to give you example, one of the subscribers was actually placed at a community health non-profit center, but they were partnered with a medical center of a school or a university or a college, but his role was marketing analyst because the non-profit had a formal partnership and he was doing the work for the school. It was just very interesting. He was qualified for cap exempt. I might be butchering the whole kind of partnership situation. Again, it's just very interesting category. So you may think that this might not even work out, but look for it, ask for it, ask the question. One of the clarification people need to understand is people think that every single hospital is now H1B cap exempt. No, that's not true. If the hospital is a part of a non-profit or like a non-profit organization affiliated with university, then yeah, it is probably most likely cap exempt. But if it's a private clinic or a private center, maybe it may not be a cap exempt. So it's not like every single hospital falls under cap exempt. And that probably brings me to the next most important question is like, Yudi, how do I know if something is a cap exempt and not? Is there a tool? Yes, there is. Now, what you want to do is figure out which companies have sponsored cap exempt visa in the past few years and make a list of database, and then you can start drilling down to those companies in your cities, in your area, and start applying to those companies. Because they may not have budget to put it on LinkedIn, or they may not have budget to put it on Indeed. And if you look at just their website, or you call them, or you look at contact them, maybe there might be better shot for you getting a job there versus applying it on thousands of jobs in the big tech company. Here are some of the tools. Number one is H1B Grader. It's a free tool that you can go and filter to cap exempt H1Bs, which are done throughout last, I think, few years they have the data for. So you can just literally start building your list of employers, and you can even go from there, like where they're located. If you are, let's say you are doing masters in, for example, Chicago or Boston, then you can start looking at like, okay, what are the organization that has done cap exempt in my city? Maybe you will find a list of 50 and you can start applying to those. Another one is My Visa Jobs. Again, they also have the same database where you can filter cap exempt sponsors. Now, another one is also Frog Hire. They are essentially a great tool in general. Again, none of these are sponsored, so they are not sponsoring this video. I'll put the link in the description if you want to check it out. Like, you can go to Frog Hire, and in the companies section, you can just type the name of the hospital or name of the university if you're confused, like whether they have done H1B or not, and it will show you the history of past 10 years, I believe. if they have done any H1B, what was the salary, what was the role, all of it. So you can have a very good understanding. Few job boards that do focus of such university posts, etc. higheredjobs.com and jobs.chronicle.com. Again, I'll put all these resources in the description so you can take a look at it, because it's an ever growing, more and more tools are building on this. So I'll put all the resources in the description. Make sure to check it out. And now comes special questions that were asked to me when I talked about this on my job hunting accelerator program. The students asked me, do Capex jobs have to be full-time? Actually, no, you can be part-time. There are a lot of part-time Capex jobs. They can be 10 hours, 20 hours a week, but you want to be extremely cautious for the low hours. I know there are certain H1B Capex where you can do 5 hours and get a stipend for it, but then USCIS might raise a question like, how are you paying your rent with just 5 hours and how are you surviving financially? So just be cautious. And another question that was very related was, can I do remote work? Yeah, absolutely. As long as the employer is Capex and employer is okay with you being remote, completely fine. Actually, when I was switching my jobs, one of the job offer I did have was from the hospital, and it was me being in Chico and the hospital was in Utah. So I believe that hospital would have been a Capex hospital because it was a University of Utah or something like that. So again, there are remote positions as well for H1B Capex, and it is completely possible for you to get approval for that. Now let me also address some of the other concerns like 6-year limit, because it's a Capex. Does it still follow 6 years? Yes. So again, for those of you who don't know, H1B, you typically get it for total of 6 years. It traditionally get it for 3 years and then you get extension for another 3 years. So that's become 6 years. But for Capex, is it the same? Yes. Doesn't matter, as long as your status changed from F1 to H1B, the clock starts ticking whether it is Capex or not. So your 6 years starts as soon as your change of status happens. Can you get green card while you are on Capex H1B? 100%. Yes, absolutely. Same process. You can still do it. See, you can totally get H4 visa on H1B Capex. You can also get EAD as long as the primary H1B sponsor has their green card in process and I-140 green card petition is approved status. Then only you get EAD, which is same for H1B lottery based as well. Here's an interesting part. What about H4 visa holders? So let's say you are on H1B and maybe your wife or your husband just came to United States and they are on H4. You know what? They can also apply for Capex H1B visa, but they cannot start working until the petition has been approved. So once the petition is approved, they can move to H1B Capex status and they can start working. So again, if you are on H4, maybe you are into teaching and if you want to teach, or maybe you want some of these roles that we've talked about, which might be for one of these categories for H1B Capex, you might be eligible. Go ahead and apply. If you get selected, if you get through the interview process, they might be willing to do the whole application process, and within, from timeline perspective, again, if you do premium processing, you could get it done, all of this within like 2 months or so. So might as well take a chance. Here is another big advantage of H1B Capex. Now remember, we said you don't have to work full-time. Let's say the university that you're working for, they are only giving you 10 hours or 20 hours. Because they are giving you less hours, you can still work for another cap subject company. What do I mean by that? Let's say you are working for a university as a database analyst and Microsoft comes and says like, hey, we also need a data analyst. We would like to hire you. If that happens, that's amazing. But let's say you applied and you get selected and you go through the entire process, then you will have to continue to work for your university. And you can also work for Microsoft and you don't have to go through the lottery process. This is called concurrent employment. Now, please understand, you have to have your cap-exempt job so that you can do both. That's why it's called concurrent employment. The minute you quit your cap-exempt job, you will need an H1B lottery to keep working for Microsoft. So if that makes sense. But the other catch is that while you are on cap-exempt, let's say first year you got cap-exempt, nobody's stopping you, nobody's stopping Microsoft or you or even your cap-exempt to file in the lottery system again. So then you no longer have to be cap-exempt. You can actually become like cap subject for example. So again, hear me out. Let's say you go to university, you start working for university. I'm saying university because it's a common example, but let's say your hospital, right? It's a non-profit, you get your H1B cap exam. Then next year or the year before, whenever that happens, you can ask your hospital like, hey, can you also put me in the lottery? And if they put you in the lottery now, and if you get selected, you are now basically cap subject. Same thing, let's say you're working 10 hours and Microsoft gives you a job offer and they put you in the lottery. You don't need it, but they put you in the lottery. Now you can quit your cap exempt job because now you're in the H1B lottery system. So again, this might be complicated. Please consider lawyer if you are wanting to learn more about this. And again, come to our immigration session. We do this every Wednesday and Thursday. So if you have questions, please come to those sessions as well. I want to reiterate this. And the biggest disadvantage is if you leave your cap exempt job entirely, then you cannot work for a regular company, for-profit company, unless you have an H1B lottery picked up and approved. So you have to have H1B lottery picked up and approved, or you have to keep your H1B cap exempt, work there, and you can work for the for-profit through concurrent employment. I hope you learned something new in this video. Don't just rely on lottery. There might be some creative ways to solve your immigration issues. Think beyond just teaching and research, because universities have job roles like marketing, admin, and data, and finance, and so on and so forth. Everything that supports the mission will be qualified technically. So you've got options. You might just not be looking at the right place. I hope this was helpful, and if it was, please share it with someone who might be stuck in the H1B grind. And if you need extra help, or if your friend needs extra help in their job hunting journey, whether it is H1B jobs or H1B cap exempt or co-ops or internship, I have job hunting accelerator program where I teach exactly this, all the strategy that I just taught you in this one, including how to do your resume, internships and interviews, and LinkedIn and networking, and every single strategy that you need to find that job. And you will also get access to amazing community where you get access to me lifetime. I'll put the link in the description. I'll see you guys in the next one. Until then, keep smiling and keep hustling. You gotta hustle every single day. And you might want to check my session with a lawyer where we discuss even more in depth. Here is the link.